Hello and welcome to another episode of Cyclone InCYders. I'm your host, Ben Olson, joined at the desk by Hannah Allen. And we're just going to dive right into some Cyclone sports. It was a really great weekend for Iowa State athletics this past weekend, Hannah. And so let's start with the men's basketball team, huh?
Yep.
Huge road win over Kansas State. They traveled to Manhattan where they beat the formerly number 18th ranked Wildcats 78-64 on the road. That is the largest margin of victory in a top 25 road game in Iowa State history. And that's their third top 25 road win of the year. Hannah, how do you think the Cyclones got it done? Was it the offense, defense? What impressed you?
Well, they got it done because all 5 players that were playing on the court stepped up that game. We saw Lindell Wigington, who hasn't been strong this year. He stepped up. Taylor Horton-Tucker, Mariel Shayak, all of those guys that were playing stepped up. And when they play as a team, they get it done. They win. And it was great to see them be able to all come together and play together.
I completely agree. And I also think they really out-scrapped a Kansas State team that's known for, playing tight defense and out-rebounding, out-hustling the other teams. But Iowa State had the rebound margin. Turnover differential was about different. And their three-point shooting was lights out. I mean, you touched on some of those specific players. For me, Taylor Horton-Tucker, we knew he struggled early in Big 12 play, right? And so let's get the men's game pulled up there, see if we can. And so Taylor Horton-Tucker was just shooting lights out from three-point range. And we finally saw him looking like the player we thought he could be at the beginning of the year. And so it's good to see him finally step up big late in conference play like this, and that's what we're going to need if we're actually going to make a run at the Big 12 title.
Yeah.
So which player do you think was key to that game?
Lindell Wigington, for sure. He's been struggling all year, and just to see him step up and help his team out and score, 23 points?
Yep.
That's huge for him and huge for his teammates to see him, because I do look at him as a leader on the team, and for him to play well and finally get in that groove and start playing basketball again it's good to see, and I think that helped the whole team overall.
I completely agree. And so now the Cyclones heading into the next week are ranked number 19 today, and Kansas State dropped down to number 23, and Kansas, who's in 3rd and 4th in the Big 12 Conference, is number 12. So the rankings are all over the place compared with the Big 12 standings. What do you think that says about the Big 12 Conference?
I mean, it just shows how good the teams are in this conference, how up in the air the standings have been all season. We beat Kansas, we beat so many, it's just so up in the air. Texas is a good team, not even the top 4 teams there's so many good teams in this conference, and it just keeps getting better and better every year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the latest bracketology had 8 teams from the Big 12 in the NCAA tournament, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Right now, Iowa State is welcoming Baylor to Hilton Coliseum tonight. Fred Hoiberg and Monte Morris are in attendance, so the Cyclones are going to want to come to play. Currently, that game is at a 38-34 advantage for Baylor at halftime. So make sure to tune into that one for the second half. That one's going to be a close game. Trying to get the stat lines there for that, and we'll have that for you in a second. But before that, what do you think is going to take Iowa State? Obviously, big game tonight, but more big games coming up if they want to have a chance at winning the Big 12 title.
Yeah, we got to win our next games. We got TCU, Oklahoma, Texas, West Virginia, and Texas Tech. Those are all important games, and we just got to play strong and win those out. And those are all pretty easy opponents. We beat Texas and West Virginia and TCU. We beat all of them, but it's just important that we continue to play strong. It's tough to see them struggling against Baylor, because Baylor's kind of not that team you would think that we would struggle against. But I think for them to continue to play the way they did against Kansas State is important, and for them to win those next few games to continue into March and play strong.
Yeah, I completely agree. For some reason, Baylor just seems to be the team every year that this basketball team under Prohm seems to get stuck up on. And considering we weren't able to take that one away from them in Waco, this is a really big game tonight in Hilton Coliseum. Right now, Wigington and Shayak are tied, leading the team both with 7 points. Horton-Tucker's got 5 rebounds, 5 points, so looks like he's a little steady, but you don't want to see 38 points in the first half. So make sure to tune to that one and keep a close eye on a big game for the Cyclones again. But now we're going to switch to the NCAA tournament, which is coming up. Right now, bracketology has Iowa State as a 4 seed playing in San Jose, California. What seed do you think Iowa State's going to end up with?
I think they'll be up there. They've had a very good season, and they have the team to do it. They have the team to get the big seed and go pretty far in this tournament, and I do think they could be around a 3 or 4 seed.
I completely agree. I would love to see Iowa State make that push towards the Big 12 title at the end and maybe play well in the tournament and grab a 3 seed. But I think if they do end up at a 4 seed, they're more likely to be in Des Moines. So either one of those outcomes, we're going to take, because I think that would be a great location for Iowa State fans. But let's talk about the other Iowa State team who's on a roll right now, the women's basketball team. This last Saturday picked up another huge victory at Hilton against Oklahoma State, 89-67. If you got to see that game, Hannah, who impressed you for the Cyclones?
Alexa Middleton by far. She was all over the court on both sides, just playing unbelievable. She played 25 minutes. And she had 15 points, which doesn't say how much, but she had so many assists and was just all over that court helping out her teammates, and everyone really stepped up in that game, but I do think she stepped up the most.
I completely agree with you. You see her appearing in this highlight tape all over the place. Nice spin move right there. And of course, Bridget Carlton, a bus load of Canadians from her hometown came down to watch the game, so she wanted to play well. She had another fantastic game. She will probably rack up a lot of awards at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And so now the Cyclones are ranked number 20 in the polls, and they play tomorrow night at Oklahoma looking for a season sweep. But we're going to skip over that one. We hope the team doesn't, because this Saturday is a huge game for the Cyclones against number 1 Baylor at Hilton Coliseum. Hannah, what do you think it's going to take for our women to pull that one out?
They got to, just like men's basketball, they all got to step up, and they got to play together, and they have to play as a team and look for those open passes and just play tough defense too. Baylor's so good, and they need to step up on defense and in offense. So I think just for them to beat Baylor, they need to come together as a team and play together.
I agree. I think this team is really looking for that signature win this year still, kind of. And what better way to do it than an upset over the number 1 team in the nation? And they've been playing fantastic at Hilton throughout the year, and they're going to need some more of that Saturday night. I think 3-point shooting is really going to be key in this one, because they're not going to be able to win the battle inside against a team like Baylor. But looking ahead now to the NCAA tournament for these women, say they do pull off an amazing upset of Baylor on Saturday, that propels them really well into tournament play coming in March. What seed are you looking at for the Iowa State women to get, Hannah?
I think they'll be pretty high up there. They've had a really good season. They've ranked almost consistently, but probably I'd say 5 or 6.
Yeah. I could see a tough few losses here in tournament play,
Yeah.
But I think right now they're projected as a 4 seed, so I think they're going to maintain that. And if they are able to get that 4 seed, that's going to allow them to play their first 2 rounds here on campus at Hilton Coliseum, which would be really big for this team. And now we're going to jump into your sport, Hannah. We're going to talk some Iowa State softball, just getting the season started a few weekends ago. But they had a pretty good weekend this last one.
Yep.
At the Demarini Invitational, where they had 2 games canceled, but they went 2-1, where they beat Colorado State and Portland State. Hannah, what are your impressions of this team so far this season?
So this team, they're saying just play for May, and their goal is to play for May and try and get to that postseason. They haven't been able to do that in the past, and they do think, and I do think, that they have the team to do it this season. They've got a lot of seniors, they've got a lot of new people, and I think just the way that the team has been working so far is really good. That first week when they only lost by 1 to the reigning national champions, that's amazing. To only lose by 1 to Florida State, that's a big accomplishment, and they have the players to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think you can start to see the culture of this softball team finally starting to turn around, which is really big for them. And we were talking about it before the show. New pitcher Tatum Zayazek from Bondurant, Iowa, sophomore, made her debut and had a fantastic start. So
unbelievable.
We feel like pitching has been what this team is missing. Do you agree? Do you think
Yes.
that's going to play a factor?
Oh, I do agree. We've got 2 senior pitchers, and then the rest are kind of younger. Tatum had an amazing game against Colorado State. She pitched 5.2 innings, giving up 0 runs and 0 hits. She came in as a relief pitcher, so she didn't get the no-hitter or anything like that, but she did earn the W against Portland State, and she will step up. Her practice, she looks just amazing, and she transferred from Marshall, and she's excited to be back home in Ames and play, not home, but closer to home and playing for the Cyclones that she cheered for.
That is exciting to hear. So if you're watching out there, make sure to keep an eye on that Iowa State softball team this year, hoping to make a run later in the season. Now we're going to switch over to Iowa State gymnastics, where this last weekend they competed at the Mardi Gras Invitational, where they were able to finish second out of 4 teams, but unfortunately the Cyclones posted a season low 193.575. They lost to Lindenwood, who they beat earlier in the season at Hilton. So a tough outing, but there was still a lot of bright spots for the Cyclones in this one. Sydney Converse was able to set her season high in the vault, and a lot of the other seniors performed really well. I think you're just starting to see some of this team's youth really show in matchups like this with the travel, where they're facing similar opponents again. And so I expect the Cyclones to bounce back because they have a tri-meet against number 6 Denver and number 10 Boise State coming up on February 24th. So that's going to be a really big one. It's really going to test the consistency and the endurance of this Cyclone squad as we get into the later parts of the season. So make sure to keep an eye on the Cyclone gymnastics team this coming February 24th. Some other things to touch on, the Iowa State men's golf team, Hannah, ranked number 20. How are they looking so far?
Pretty good. I mean, they're starting off strong with the 20th rank, but yeah, they look really good.
I completely agree. The spring sports are finally starting to get started here at Iowa State, and we're going to have updates on those coming in the following weeks for you. But for now, make sure to go tune into the Iowa State-Baylor game going on at Hilton right now. Catch the end of that one, close one, hoping Iowa State can pull it out. But thanks for watching Cyclone InCYders. We'll be back more. And as always, go Cyclones.